What's up, guys? How is everybody?
Hi, Lisa.
Hello. We've got a few of you on mute and a few of you not, which is awesome because we're just kind of getting things started, but I'm super excited to see everybody rolling in. I'm learning a little bit about waiting rooms, right? So I'm going to make sure we get everybody in that wants to get in, and then we'll kind of get going. But I appreciate you guys getting on. I know we're probably all a little zoomed out, maybe computered out, but I'm not peopled out. So I'm like really, really excited to see all the faces that are on here today. So this is going to be fun. And we're all learning, maybe some of us more than others, but we're all learning a little bit about technology. So this is going to be fun tonight. Let's see. All right, I'm going to screen share that. And if you guys see a mute button to mute yourself, let's do that. So I'm going to try and mute everybody, but just for safety purposes, so we can not get as much feedback until we do question and answer at the end. If you can just take a second to mute yourself. And then let's see, I see Maria on here. Maria, if you see my face and you also see a lift off nutrition slide, just give me a thumbs up. Yeah, okay, awesome. All right, guys. So I love this. I love talking about nutrition. I love meeting with people. I love face-to-face. So this is the closest we can get to all of that right now. And we've been talking to a lot of folks in our community and just around. And one of the things that continues to pop up is nutrition and help with nutrition. We're all kind of in a different space, whether it's proximity to food that we are not normally around, or whether it is just out of routine. That's something that I know we can all kind of take a second and regroup and refocus. And so tonight, just to kind of talk about what you're signed in for, what's going to happen tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about, specifically around the shelter in place and around, there's more people in the waiting room. Let me get them in. Specifically around shelter in place and kind of being at home more and working at home and possibly having limited grocery lists. Maybe we don't have everything that we're used to. And so I wanted to focus on that and really take 30 minutes during these sessions, given some highlights and some things to ponder. And then we're going to always walk away with 2 or 3 things to do and take action, because information is great, but action is really where it's at. So we're going to kind of do a refresher on maybe some actions and some things that you specifically need to focus on. This is going to be kind of a science light series, so not going to dig into a lot of science, going to do some overview, do some reminders. If we have some nutrition gurus on here, there may be lots of things that you've already heard. What I know about nutrition is that, let's see. If you, everybody can mute themselves. Jeremy, can you hear me?
Okay, let me do this load, and then you can take it over. Okay.
Jeremy. All right. Well, let's see. All right. So we're going to do science light, kind of some overview on some things. Tonight, I want to talk about why it's, in general, why nutrition is important, kind of reminders of where we are and what our goals are. They might have shifted from a couple of weeks ago. Next week, we're really going to dive into some strategies and tools. And so we know that these are going to be different for everybody. And so tonight is a time where you're going to set yourself up for expectations and thinking about why you want to eat well and what your goal is over the next few weeks, or as long as this condition or situation lasts. And then next week, we're going to go through a handful of tools. I'm going to share some things that Jeremy and I are doing, that a couple of the coaches are doing, and then some of our lift-off nutrition clients are doing as well. So next week is really going to be some of the nitty-gritty of how to make this happen. And then that's Thursday night is going to be the nitty-gritty on how to make this happen. Next Monday, Coach Whitney is we're all going to be cooking together. So it's going to be something simple, but we're all going to be cooking. So we'll have a food list out for you. We can all set our cameras, our phones, our computers up in our kitchen, and she's going to walk through some simple stuff, because what we know is following a recipe is one thing, but putting together some simple meals might be something that is an obstacle for you guys. And then the last session, which will be the Thursday the 16th, we're going to take a few minutes to personally create your plan, to put something on paper, to take the things that we're learning over the next few sessions and really make them personal. Because again, information is awesome, but until you can make it personal and figure out how to get a plan for yourself, it's really just a lot of talk or something we can read. And I want to make sure that if you're spending your time on this video with me tonight, that we are giving you something that you can take home and take action on. So what we're kind of looking at right now is there's probably a couple different views on this in the room or on this video tonight. And one of them is that rather than having a lot of free time, you're actually busier. You have now working from home, your kids might be doing homeschool. Everything is on a technology that might be new. And so rather than having the routine and the system that worked for you in the past, you're suddenly at a place where you don't have time to focus. You don't know what to cook. Maybe you've been doing a lot of takeouts because that's quick and easy, and or you want to support some local businesses, which is awesome, but that might be you. We're going to talk about some ways that you can make best choices there. Or maybe, you know, a few people are like, hey, I finally have the time to food log, to learn how to use my Fitness Pal, to learn how to weigh and measure, but I'm not exactly sure what to do. And so no matter which one of those camps you're sitting in, or maybe somewhere in between, tonight we're going to go over some things that you can think about, really hone in and dial in specifically on what your goal is, and then see how we can help you next. So, all right, we want to talk about foundations. So one of the things that we keep coming back to in this shelter-in-place situation is foundations, whether that's foundation of routine, foundation of belief, foundation of habits that you've created. Really, this is about taking those foundations that you've already put in place and using them when you're in a time of stress. And this pyramid, if you have been around CrossFit for a while or done any the CrossFit journal readings, you've probably seen this. So this is a pyramid that talks about specifically to CrossFit athletes. And what we have at the top is your sport, which I would like to translate into what is your goal now? And so your goal now might just be healthy, being healthy, kind of having energy that you need, mental focus that you need, clarity that you need. It might be, hey, I don't want to gain weight while we're sitting at home, and maybe less activity. Maybe, again, proximity to food is a little bit different than it would be if you're going into the office. And then we have the 3 in between, and that's just really how you move your body. So we know that that's important. We know your goal is important, but really to get to that goal and to support the movement that you are doing with your body, we look at foundation, or the foundation of nutrition. And so nutrition, again, will set you up for success, whether it's just being generally healthy, whether it's weight loss, whether it's performance, or whether it's just kind of mental health. And that's really what I want to focus on tonight, because this is a unique situation. We're not coming together looking, maybe some of us are looking to get quarantine lean, but most of us just want to know how to stay away from the snacks, know how to manage what's in our kitchen, kind of set ourselves up for success. And we're going to go over some key points for everyone to get that done tonight. So again, nutrition is the foundation, no matter what your goal is. This is a good slide to kind of take a second and look at and determine what is your goal now, right? So if you had a goal before this shelter in place or being at home like we are right now, maybe that shifted a little bit, and that's okay. But I think that writing that down and having an understanding that that has shifted, and then knowing how we can work towards that, is going to help us all feel really successful. So just taking a second and deciding what your goal is now, and then how you're moving your body. And if you're on this, you're probably a part of either the Liftoff community. So, you know, we got daily workouts to plug into there, or CrossFit Central, and we're doing Zoom workouts at least 3 times a day. I think we've got a couple people on here who are in Kerrville, which is where I'm sitting right now. So we know you've got access to some fitness too, but that's an important part of it. So when we talk about healthy eating, when we talk about nutrition now, be healthy now, most of the time what people talk about is, in our environment, it's weight loss, it's body composition, you know, it's performance at the gym, and now kind of shifting the focus to general health. So we know that we need to eat well. We know this, but it doesn't mean we take action for it, right? So that's what I want to talk about tonight, what we know, where we're going, and then kind of anchor in some things that will sit with you on why you would take action in a different direction. So again, maybe stuff that you've already heard, but every time you hear the basics of nutrition, something else comes up. So general health, we know that eating whole foods will help with mental clarity, alertness, energy, helps keep our weight stable. It helps reduces the risk of diabetes, high blood pressure, and cholesterol. And all of those are always important. Specifically right now, if we're talking about COVID-19, you know, there are a lot of statistics out there right now. So if someone can come back and talk to me about this one, let's do it. But one of the things that I heard the other day is that 95% of the deaths in New York City happened, were in conjunction with what's called comorbidity. So there were already some other risks or health issues or concerns that helped, that caused a decline of in health of that person that had COVID-19. And so right now we know that being healthy is always important, but specifically now if we're trying to keep our immune systems well and keep our bodies healthy so that we don't fall victim to the virus, or that we can feel as good as we can while we're at home, that's really what we want to focus on. Specifically, wanted to talk a little bit about how food affects depression and anxiety, right? So this might be something that we've thought about in the past, but it might not be something that's always on your radar. And I pulled a couple of things. We can dig into those articles if we want to, but depression is shown to be associated with the elevated leptin levels, low-grade inflammation, and insulin resistance. And the graph that I'm going to show in a second will make this make a little bit more sense if that doesn't make sense immediately. But basically what it's saying is despite gender, body composition, hormonal environments, all other factors, depression is associated with, again, elevated leptin levels. Leptin is the hunger hormone, so it helps your body regulate how much you're eating and when you need to stop eating. Low-grade inflammation, so we know inflammation, it can be increased with sugar, processed foods, gluten, and dairy, and then insulin resistance. So the best way to describe insulin resistance is if you think about getting in an ice bath, and let's just say that your body temperature is not going to warm that ice bath up, right? Let's say that the ice bath is going to stay the same no matter what your body temperature does. So you get in that ice bath, and at first it's really cold, but then in a second it's not as cold. You kind of adapt to it. People could even put a little bit more ice in there, and your body still doesn't respond like it did immediately. So that's the G-rated version. The kind of PG-rated version is if you think about traveling with your friends and your dog in your car, and since your friends would never pass gas, your dog passes gas, right? So at first, you can smell it really strong. It's really offensive, right? And you respond, but then after a while, you kind of get used to it. So insulin resistance means that you, again, have kind of gotten used to that insulin. I've gotten used to the temperature of the ice bath. I've gotten used to the smell, and that your body doesn't respond the same to the insulin response as it used to. And then if we think about anxiety, so even if you have the best possible situation, this sheltering at home can trigger some anxiety. It's something that we're not used to. And so there are a few things that Mayo Clinic and WebMD list as top foods that trigger anxiety. And I don't think that they're going to be a real surprise to anybody. They're things that we kind of try and stay away from anyway, but I thought that it would be a good time. I think I misspelled caffeine, so we can excuse that. But to take a look at these and kind of take a personal inventory. You know, I have been having a lot more coffee in the morning because I don't have to get out the door as quickly, right? So that's one thing that hit me when I was looking at this list. Things that trigger anxiety and that we could stay away from to have more mental clarity and better mental health during this time. Caffeine, artificial and refined sugars, gluten. So gluten doesn't necessarily trigger anxiety by itself, but there is a trigger within the gut, and it depletes our gut health, which is linked to anxiety. Processed food, we know that the more the food is processed, the less nutrients that are in it, and the more our body's got, our insulin is going to spike. So again, we'll talk about that in a second. Alcohol. So alcohol is much like gasoline on anxiety, right? So sometimes we'll have a little bit of wine or a drink to kind of calm ourselves down, and really, in the end, that does the opposite effect. So taking a look at what your habits around that have been. Dairy, an inflammatory product or item, soda and fried foods. I think we all kind of know that those aren't the best for us, but again, for the same reasons that processed food and refined sugars will trigger anxiety, those will trigger anxiety, and then foods high in sodium. So those are kind of just some blanket things that you specifically want to stay away from or limit during this time. And then now I'm going to talk a little bit about, I was talking about the insulin and glycemic index, and you might have heard us talk about that before, foods low or high in the glycemic index. And what does that mean? Well, this is a chart that shows what happens when you eat a sugary meal. So your blood glucose, your blood sugar will spike, you feel really good, and then you have an energy crash. During that energy crash, that's when you know, your cortisol, your glucagon, all those adrenaline, all the things, the endorphins that you can get from exercise and that sort of thing will drop. And that's when hunger, anxiety, pain, or panic, weakness, that sort of thing comes in. And so on average, if we're looking at, I think the study was specifically boys 16 to 22, they have 6 of these spikes and crashes throughout the day. So remember I was talking to you about getting used to the insulin resistance, right? So getting used to the smell in the car or getting used to the feel of the ice. This is an example of how eating those sugary foods or those foods that I just listed that trigger anxiety will, how your body will respond. You're going to have a huge energy boost, you're going to have a spike, and then you're going to have a drop. And if we do that 5 or 6 times a day, our body is going to get less and less resistant to it, and we're going to have less of a response to it, which also means that we can't process the things the way that we're supposed to. And so the fewer sugary meals or energy boosts and crashes that we can have throughout the day, the better that we're going to be, right? And so we know this, we know that we should eat well. Well, what does that mean for you? And again, tonight is specifically a time for us to reflect on why it might be important to eat well during this quarantine or shelter in place time, why you might want to focus on best choices. How is going to be next week, but really knowing why you're going to do something will help you stick to it. Because we know that if we have something that's really anchored in a reason that we're going to get to something, we can share it with someone, it becomes much more personal, and it's not just this idea that's floating around, but we have something that is really specific to us. So we go back to that chart where it talks about your goal now and how you're going to move your body, and then looking at nutrition. And so now I want you to kind of think about why it is important for you to focus on food quality, or to focus on your nutrition now. And there are kind of 3 different categories that I put for solutions. So the great thing is that nutrition can be super simple. It doesn't mean that it's always easy, but it can be super simple. And so I wanted to kind of outline the simplest to the most, I don't know, involved thing or way that we could do this. And then you get to decide where you are now and what your lifestyle will promote and allow for, where your goals are, and then what you're going to do to take action. And so the first thing that we can do to counteract or to keep that insulin spike and the crash from happening, to keep our mood stable, to keep our alertness on point, keep our energy stable, to keep us from snacking all day, is to choose quality food. So quality food first. So after tonight's session, I'm going to send you a food list, and they'll be part of kind of a homework piece that we can do, but quality food first. What do you have and what can you put in your pantry that are whole foods? They're not processed. They're not packaged. I know we're probably eating a little bit more quinoa and a little bit more rice, or maybe a little bit more oatmeal than we typically do, but those are still high quality foods. So I'm talking about, you know, crackers, pre-made meals, things that don't have an expiration date necessarily, even protein bars, right? What is your food quality? Food quality should be first, no matter what your goal is. And if that's something that you kind of need a reset, we've been at home for 2.5, 3 weeks now. So maybe it's that you were doing well, you lost some self discipline, or maybe some stress came in, or maybe you didn't have access to things that you wanted, whatever it is that kind of took you off the path of where you wanted to go, getting back on the path that you would like to get to starts with food quality first, right? So we're going to keep it super simple. Then the second thing is energy in versus energy out. So if you're concerned about adding weight during this time because you're snacking, because you've access to things, because you're not sure how much you need to eat, then you are ready not only for food quality, but we need to look at how much you're consuming versus how much you're expending on a regular basis. So I have at the end of this an email for myself. You know, I know Coach Whitney is on here. We can help you figure out what that looks like. Maybe you had a prescription for what you needed before this and your activity levels have drastically changed. So we got that. Some people, their activity level has increased. That's awesome. You get to do 2 or 3 workouts a day. Some people, their activity level has decreased. So energy in versus energy out. That's for you if you know that you want to either maintain or lose weight during this time. And then for those of you who are like, I'm coming out of this as ripped and ready to go, as shredded as I possibly can because I have access to the gym. I mean, I've got a couple people that are like, we're trying to come up with something as cool as Prison Strong. Quarantine Lean was the best we got. And I don't know, if y'all have something, let me know. But that's when macros come in, right? So that's when you say, I've got time to weigh and measure. I've got time to look at my macros, and I'm going to learn how to use something like MyFitnessPal, right? So tonight you should think about, or what I'd like for you to do is to think about food quality first. What does that look like for you? How is your food quality? Are some things in your pantry that you think are healthy? They're like, what do they call them? Like hidden health foods or hidden junk foods, like the chocolate and almond butter mix that you're supposed to make a sandwich with that is kind of healthy because it's all really great ingredients, but it's really like chocolate and almond butter that you're going to put on bread. So some things like that, then maybe we need to kind of reassess and reconsider. We'll look at some food quality. Then energy in versus energy out. If you know that you're already working on food quality and that you want to focus on weight loss or weight maintenance during this time and you're not sure what that looks like, then that's kind of where you are. And then if you are ready to get a more dialed in, like I want to learn how to weigh and measure, I've got the time to cook. That's why Whitney is going to help us all cook next Monday, because a lot of us can follow a recipe, but we can't always think to put meals together. So if that's you and you know you've got the time to measure macros, then this is going to be a great time to do that. And then we always want to have something that you can take action, because knowing why and what you need to do or want to do over the next couple of weeks is one thing, but taking action to get it done is another. And so again, tonight we're not going to focus too much on the how, because I feel like until you define why you want to be healthy and we know where you are and what level you're starting in, I call it like, what's your personality? Is your personality quality food? Is that where you are? Is your personality like weight maintenance or losing weight? Then we need to know calories or macros if you're going to weigh and measure. So you need to know what your goal is before we can really define the things that'll get you where you want to go. And so to take action, we're going to keep it super simple. It's Monday night. Hopefully you've already had dinner, so you've got a full belly. So when we go into our pantry and our fridge in the next hour, so we have it done before Thursday, then you're full. You're not trying to keep things you don't need, and you're ready to go. But an audit of your fridge and pantry. So again, as soon as we get off of here, I'm going to send you a food list. You might want to use that food list to kind of compare and contrast some things that you have in your fridge and pantry. But I bet that most of us know what we have in there that we shouldn't have in there, right? The things that we keep growing to, the things that we're grabbing as late night snacks. And you can keep those in there. We're going to talk about kind of changing environment and triggers and what causes us to go back to the fridge or back to the pantry and how we can adjust those. And we'll talk a little bit more about that next week. But are there some things in your fridge and pantry that you need to get rid of? Some things that you've been kind of just holding on to and we don't necessarily need to keep it in there. And then also, it's not just a getting rid of, it's a let's make a list of the things that you know that you should have in there. Maybe we need to get on curbside and order those so they'll show up in the next week. I don't know. but do an audit of your fridge and your pantry. So define why you want to be healthy now. So next week we'll have a little bit more interaction time. I'd love to hear some of your reasons for eating healthy now. Is it that you want to lose weight? Is it that you want to maintain? Is it that you have time and you really want to focus on some things that you haven't been able to? Because that will help us give you the information over the next 3 sessions that's the most relevant. So define why you're ready to be healthy now. And again, that mental health aspect of it is coming into play more than it ever has before. Before it may have been, if it fits my macros, you can make it work for your performance and the way you look. But if it fits my macros, doesn't talk about food quality all the time. We want to make sure that you are not setting yourself up for that roller coaster ride that you saw on that insulin resistance chart. The second one, again, audit your fridge and pantry, and then create green, yellow, and foods. So this will be a fun activity. If you have school kids, you might know them as go, slow, and whoa foods. So even my 4-year-old knows go, slow, and whoa foods. So it's not going to be something that's too tricky and difficult. But I want you to go through and really make a list of 5 to 10 things that you know are go-to. They're really great. You can have them in high volume and you love it. Yellow are things that you know that you need to have in moderation, that maybe shouldn't be every meal or every day, but that you can keep around and you are still good quality food. And again, I'm going to include a separate list that will show you an example of these items, so you can then apply it to what you have in your pantry. The red food list are things that are like, whoa, maybe you don't have them in your house at all. Maybe you have them, but you're hiding them behind 3 other things. I put mine behind or in noisy containers so I can't sneak them out and nobody can hear it. I was talking to Whitney today. She said that she puts hers up so high that she has to pull out a ladder to get the snacks. So people have different tricks for keeping themselves away from red foods. And again, nothing is off limits. It's more about learning how and when to put those red foods in and consume them. So we can talk a little bit more again about the house, but if you have red foods, I love ice cream. We have a big tub of Bluebell ice cream in our refrigerator right now, but I won't eat it standing up. I won't eat it out of the carton. I won't eat it while I'm looking at my phone. So if I'm going to have that, I'm going to make sure I get a bowl. I'm going to go somewhere quiet, or there's never quiet in the house right now, but I'm going to go somewhere and I'm going to sit and I'm going to enjoy it. So again, red foods aren't necessarily things that you need to get out of your house. They're just things to be considerate of. The other thing, red, yellow, green foods, maybe a red food for you is almond butter, and you know that you are going to consume way too much almond butter, so that's a healthy item, but you know that you need to have it somewhere that is appropriate for you and for what your habits are right now. And so tonight, again, is all about defining why right now you want to be as healthy as you possibly be. Why is it important now? Is it different than it was a few weeks ago? What you're ready to commit to, what your lifestyle and your time will allow you to commit to. Do an audit of your fridge and pantry. This might be where you get your family involved, or your husband involved, your wife involved, because it will affect everyone. Maybe you just move some things around. And then create your own green, yellow, and red foods, which are, again, go, slow, and whoa foods. And we're going to have that done by Thursday, right? So it's Monday night. We've got 3 days. Again, I suggest doing this either now after you're well fed, or at a time where you're not tempted to eat some of those foods as you're going through it. These are a couple of people that we have just wanted to celebrate, and we've also been able to help with the Lift Off Nutrition using some things like what we're talking about. It really is about more than macros. We really like to dive into why you're eating, what you're eating, and how to get you there one step at a time. Lily's lost 18 pounds. I think that's even an old picture of her. So if you saw her now, looks incredidible. And then Donnie also has lost 13 pounds. His caption is great because he talks about having a love-hate relationship with food, and just exactly what we're talking about. Defined why he wanted to do something and then got the tools to do it. And so we really, I have a passion for helping people with nutrition. It's been something that I have struggled with, not weight, but food in general. And I love helping people have breakthroughs. And it's really the simplest things that can make the biggest difference, but consistency is key, right? And so defining why you want to do something, and then we can help you come up with those consistent steps to get it done. So next week, we're going to talk about tools and strategies to make this personal. Again, so it can be specific to your lifestyle. Talking about routine. I think routine is paramount right now. What can you do to make your life feel as normal as possible? What things are you keeping regular? Are you still packing your lunch? Are you, those kind of things. Triggers. What is triggering you to not eat or to eat things when you don't want to, or things that you maybe know aren't the best choices? Then we're going to talk about shopping lists, kind of all kinds of strategies. Those strategies, which ones are going to be best for you? It's going to be easy to tell that if you have defined your why. You want to be healthy now. If you've already audited your fridge, and if you can create your go-tos, right? So if you have a plan, that's what that green, yellow, red list is, then it is easier to have success than just wandering in the dark. So I know that we had a few comments. Maybe if I stop sharing. So I want to kind of open it up to open it up to any questions, anything that you would like to help with specifically, maybe not tonight, but next week, or any questions about anything we talked about tonight. So you should be able to unmute yourself and then speak, or you can type something in the sidebar if you'd like to do that. Okay. All right, awesome. So no questions. That's a good thing. Hopefully you guys are thinking about why you would want to take action. And then I'm going to leave us here on this screen, which talks about some things, some action steps that we're going to take between now and Thursday. And then come prepared. We've got 40 people on here, so I don't think we'll ask everyone, but I'd like to hear from a couple people, some things that they found and they audited in their pantry. And then also, the more I know about why you're looking to be healthy, the more specific information we can share to help during this time. But again, keeping it super simple, keeping it food quality first, and then knowing exactly what your goal is will help us. So, all right, I'll check the comments one more time. And if we don't have any questions.
Lisa, I've got a question.
Okay, what's up, Connie?
You know, I've been drinking juice, and because it's that pomegranate juice, because it's high in oxidants. So, you know, and I saw, oh, it causes inflammation. So I'm a little.
I mean, Connie, that has to do a lot with the way that fruit sugar is one thing, but then when it becomes juice, the sugar is a simpler form, and so it has a higher glycemic index. So again, you know, carrots have a high glycemic index. We know that they're nutrient-dense foods, but they're higher than some other things. So that's really, again, that fruit juice has to do with it being processed and not the whole fruit, but the sugar breakdown that's already happened.
Okay. Gotcha. So I can have like maybe those pomegranate seeds, you know, or instead. That would be probably fewer for one thing, and then not as, you know, full of sugar. So,
yeah.
Okay.
Again, it's all moderation, right? It's all about moderation and knowing what your go-tos are and what the foundation is. If you have a foundation of vegetables, lean protein, nuts, and seeds, and you have a pomegranate juice, I think we're doing pretty good, Connie.
Okay. Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else? What's happening with what is the biggest struggle that you guys are having? Does anybody want to talk about something that maybe I can help with tonight?
Hey, Lisa. It's
Hello.
good to see your face, friend.
What's up, Todd?
Hey, so it's always a challenge, you know, dealing with the big eaters and the big drinkers in your world that in a normal time. But I think right now, particularly like that, I don't want to call it divide, but that difference in mentality and sort of how people are dealing with all this is like times 1,000. And I think dealing with like the social aspect of trying to keep myself on course when, you know, my best friends want to call me and tell me how they're drinking every day and doing all this stuff. And just maybe not now, but in our discussions as we kind of continue through this series, I think that would be helpful just to hear how other people are dealing with that. Because number one, it frustrates me to hear people that I care about are dealing with all this in that way. But secondly, it doesn't help me keep my eye on the prize if, you know, everyone's talking to me about, you know, planning their next big meal while they're eating this one, and, you know, how many, you know, liquor store deliveries they've had in a week, and, you know, the list goes on, right? That of things that we're trying to stay inside the lines on, and people are just letting shit go. And it's just, so I'd like to hear more about how other people are kind of addressing that.
Okay, awesome. Well, I mean, funny, not funny. The good news is you don't have to be physically with them when the liquor store delivery shows up.
No, for sure.
But I also think, you know, to your point, that's one of the ways that things I wanted to focus on tonight, because the why do we want to be healthy nutrition thing in our gym space and in the fitness world is usually around performance. It's usually around aesthetics. It's usually around abs and biceps and bikinis, or, you know, whatever that might be. And I think that now is a really good time to recenter and remember how much nutrition plays a part in mental clarity, in how you can manage and deal with the stress that we're having right now, no matter what it might be, about what things trigger anxiety and depression. And if there is some way to influence those individuals and let them know that that's actually perpetuating the state rather than helping the state, you know, that's a really, again, one of my main goals for tonight, because it is more than aesthetics. It's really about how we're functioning and how we're going to come out on the other side, because we are going to come out on the other side. And how are we going to stand? If we lay a strong nutrition foundation, then I think that we're going to be, you know, a foot ahead, a step ahead. So, and then I'd open this up. Does anybody else have something that, I'm not the only expert, right? So does anybody have some experience with what Todd is talking about and some things that you've been able to do that have helped that?
No, but Lisa, it's Ronnie. I have a comment. Todd has a nice corona around him, a pleasant corona.
Yeah. Yep. Well done, Todd. All right. Tracy says, my biggest struggle is being at home with my kids all day in our living room and kitchen, except we're outside, and just all day access to the fridge and snacking, even when, yeah. Okay. So I think, I mean, honestly, like if I heard one thing, that's the struggle. The routine is off. There's food everywhere. You have things in your pantry that, if it's not just you, that maybe you don't want to eat, but your other family members eat. And so one of the things we're going to talk about next week, Tracy, that I think will help is an environmental overhaul, and how we have things laid out in the kitchen, how you have your workspace laid out. And then we've gotten better around here, but like 2 weeks ago, literally Jeremy and I made an agreement that anytime we started getting stressed or going for something to eat or freaking out about something, you know, it was like, stop and do 10 squats and 5 burpees and change your state. So if anybody's done Tony Robbins, it's like, change your state. And they have a power move, like, what's your move? Make your move. You might have a yell that goes with it, but it's change your state, right? Because that instant gratification is what we're looking for. And so if you can do one thing, no matter how silly it is, or if we can figure out one other consistent routine to do before you grab the things. Now, maybe you'll still go back in there and grab the snacks, Tracy, I don't know. But thinking about some other kind of make your moves or alternatives that you can do. That we're going to talk about the urge jar. You might have seen that video that I put out about the urge jar. So it's like, how do you reward yourself for not doing things, instead of, we can always remember the times we mess up, but let's talk about how do we reward ourselves for things that we resist when we make a move in the right direction. So we're going to talk about some stuff like that. Yeah, 2-minute sweat session. Yeah, totally. It just breath work. I mean, like my kids will ask me, why am I breathing that way? It's like, well, you stress me out. I'm going to breathe this way until I'm not stressed out anymore. You know, so it's like, what is it that you can do for just a quick, simple turnaround? So we're going to talk about a lot of things like that. That's thanks for sharing that, Tracy. And then what do we have? August says, I buy all the food and end up eating it. Easy foods are not good. How do I make it easy to cook, healthy, and delicious? All right, so we're gonna send you, so tonight I'm gonna send you 3 things. It's a food list. Will help you kind of highlight some things that you wanna have, kind of give you an idea of categories of food, protein, fat, carb. Maybe that's something you're familiar with, maybe not. That food list is gonna help you outline some things that you should have on hand. We're gonna go to the green, yellow, red list. I'm gonna send you one, but this does not have to be yours. You're gonna create your own. And then I'm gonna send a meal matrix. So the meal matrix is a list of 10 meats, 10 vegetables, 10 spices and fats, and then 10 other things. And the idea is that you take one of those things from each column, you put them together and make a meal. So we're also next week gonna talk a little bit about a grocery list and how to kind of categorize your grocery list so you don't go spend $200 and come home and have pretzels and nut thins and cuties, but nothing really to make a meal. We're going to talk about meal prep because I think, Helga, that also on a budget, I got it. The grocery list is going to help with that budget for sure. Because then you don't get all the things. I go in and see empty shelves and I want to panic buy things that I don't even eat. Like I came home with marshmallow cream puff the other night. I was like, that's not necessary ever. It's necessary. And it's I don't know how I saw it. I don't know what happened. Maybe the peanut butter was all gone, so I saw that. But anyway, having a list and a plan to go in, making some meals. Becky's on here. One of the things that she did was pack her lunch as if she were going to work because we have all this healthy food. We think, oh, we've got time and healthy food. I'll go in there for lunch and make something healthy. But really what happens is you go in there for lunch, you snack on 5 things, you kind of make it, maybe you don't make it, or you just eat a sandwich because it's quicker. And then the healthy food that you've got from your grocery list for lunch doesn't actually get eaten, right? So we're going to talk about some things like that. But if you have things that have worked for you in the past that you've learned from nutrition programs or from your coaches or just from life, keep those in place, even though it might seem silly to pack your lunchbox to go to work, which is at the table, which is in the room right next to your kitchen, right? So if it's working, let's keep it going.
Hi, Lisa. I have a question.
Hey, Vic, Maria.
How are you doing? Good to see you.
Yeah, you too. Awesome.
Okay, so I don't know if you know, but Whitney's my coach. I'm on the Lift Nutrition. One of the things which is hard to believe in this craziness, I actually do not eat enough protein. I usually by the end of the day am still about 50 grams too low, if not more. So I wonder if that's even if anybody else is going through that too during this time where they're noticing that, yeah, they might be eating or snacking, but we're really not getting the nutrients that we're supposed to be. That's my big challenge.
Yes. So that is a common challenge. I see my issues not eating enough. I only eat 2 meals a day. And so routine is paramount. We talked about routine is paramount right now. We've got the Zoom classes to plug into for workouts. I think the reason that those are so awesome is because you can't put it off. You can't join it later. You can't watch the recording. You show up at that time and you do it, right? And so you can get a workout on your own, but getting it with other people at a specific time is powerful. One of the things that I utilize in my household are alarms. Might it be annoying for someone, but I'm pretty scheduled, pretty type A, and so the alarms work for me and my kids. 8 o'clock, this is what we're doing. 11 o'clock, this is what we're doing. There's some flex in between there, and it might be that we're in a season where you need to set alarms for your meals, or at least set some sort of alarm system or schedule for your morning. Because if we set our morning up well, then we know that the rest of the day is going to go better, right? So start with that morning meal and go from there. Super, super, super generic numbers are going to get ready to throw out here. But if you're a female and you're not getting 100 grams of protein, then that might be something you need to work on. You can do some math. If you eat 5 times a day, you need 20 grams of protein every meal. If you're a male, super, again, generic, but you need around 130 grams of protein. If you're not getting that, then we need to look at protein. Protein is something that stabilizes your blood sugar. It makes you feel full. It helps you keep your muscle mass. So that's a good place to start. We can talk about, again, we're going to talk about hand portions next week. So grocery lists, hand portions, kind of how to plan your meal. All of that we'll focus on next week. And that's where the power comes in and taking action on these little things. Logging is a great way to know where you are. If you feel like you can take on something new and want to food log in MyFitnessPal, do not look at the calories they recommend. Do not worry about what they say that you should be eating. Those probably aren't right anyway, according to me. But logging to see where you are on Thursday could be really helpful, because tonight you're hearing why you might want to pay attention to your food, and then Thursday you'll know kind of where you are from a baseline of what you've logged for the next 3 days, and that can be super powerful. If that's where you are on your time and your focus and your ability, then I strongly suggest that. I think if you do a Google, it says that's the one way to lose weight is to log your food, because it just opens up so many points of clarity for you. And then we have somebody, I can't see a name on here, who is next level, and they put their food, Anne. Okay, Anne puts her food in the night before. She logs everything that she's going to eat. Means she's super planned. I wonder, are you doing this during the shelter at home, Anne? That's awesome.
Yeah. I don't think I would do it as much normally. I think I'm usually busier normally than during this time, but now it's become like a nightly activity to plan out my food for the next day.
So what's the number one thing you've noticed by doing that?
I think it's just like it makes the thinking about it throughout the day completely irrelevant. Like I already have everything planned, so throughout the day, I look at what I have logged in there and just pick out what I want to eat at the different times that I want to eat it. But I know that no matter what, as long as I'm eating whatever's in there, I'm hitting the right numbers in terms of grams for each macronutrient.
Yeah, so super advanced move right there. Anne's saying that she's pre-logging her entire day's worth of food into MyFitnessPal. Some of you guys might think that's the nuttiest thing you've ever heard. And some of you may be like, yep, I'm ready to do that. So that also means that Anne is resisting the snacks and the grabs and the handfuls that maybe some of us aren't. So that's awesome. But anyway, that's another tool. These are great. Nutrition at CrossFitCentral.com. Nutrition at CrossFitCentral.com. If you have questions, if you think of something between now and Thursday that you really want us to highlight, let me know. And then again, tonight we're going to keep it super simple. Just a reminder that nutrition is literally the foundation to wellness. It's also going to help you on your mental health game over the next few weeks while we're in a little bit different situation, which is paramount to coming out of this as your best self, whether it's 5 pounds lighter or not. We want to keep our mind, our depression, our anxiety, our energy, our mental clarity high. So pinpointing why you're up to this and why it's important for you now is the number one thing. The next thing is auditing your pantry. And then again, creating that food list. I'm going to send everyone that registered a couple of tools to help with this project that you can use. And then on Thursday, again, we're going to talk about some super specific strategies and some things that might be triggering you to grab things that you don't want to grab. And we're looking forward to it. So I'll give one more second to see if there's a last comment or question, and then we're going to get off of here, and I'll see you guys on Thursday. So anybody else, last minute, last chance?
Thanks, Lisa.
You're welcome. Thank y'all.
Thank you.